Ligatures. Can they make a noticeable difference to your tone, or is their only job to keep your reed stuck to your mouthpiece? That's the question I'll answer in this video, and to help me do it, I've got 4 very different ligatures from Rovner at 4 different price points. In a moment, you'll hear these ligatures go head to head against this, a basic, nondescript metal ligature which you could easily pick up for under 10 bucks. Don't ask me what brand it is because I honestly have no idea. But guys, I need to say something from the outset. I am what you might call a ligature skeptic. To help explain why, here's me comparing a $200 gold-plated O ligature to a roll of duct tape. Did you hear a difference? Let me know in the comments below if you did. But in the meantime, today is a new day and I'm ready to potentially have my mind changed about ligatures once and for all. Now don't worry, this is not a paid review. All you'll be getting today are my pure, unvarnished thoughts and of course, a complete sound comparison so you can decide for yourself. So let's dive in. The first to compete against our anonymous ligature is the Rovner Dark, and at only $25 complete with a mouthpiece cap, this is a ligature that could convert even the most hardened skeptic. For one, you can seat the reed in about half the time of our basic ligature thanks to this single screw. And for another, the leather design makes it pretty much indestructible. And that's in stark contrast to these flimsy metal ligatures that can be deformed shockingly easy if you apply a bit too much pressure or, God forbid, ever sit on it. Now, I have to mention a really important caveat. I say leather design here, but these ligatures are not actually made of leather. According to Rovner, 8 of their 9 ligatures are made from their own proprietary textile that's designed to last for years without stretching or rotting. The only ligature that isn't made of this textile is their all-metal Platinum ligature. Now that's not to say that there aren't genuine leather ligatures out there right now, because there absolutely is, but at any rate, Rovner believes that their proprietary textile is superior both in tonal performance and durability. So let's hear how this humble Rovner Dark really stacks up. Now next up, we've got the Rovner Versa X, and at around $47, it's a definite step up in price from the Dark, but here's where things get a bit interesting. This ligature actually has different settings depending on the tone we want to produce. To help explain it all, here's Lynn from Rovner.
The Versa X is another level up, and it offers 2 ways to play. There's a little metal cradle in the bottom, and it has 2 little flaps on each side. When you cover the cradle with the flaps, you're going to get a darker tone. When you expose the cradle to the reed, you're going to get a brighter tone.
So you're about to hear 3 different clips, one with our basic ligature of course, one with the Versa X cradle covered by these flaps, and one with the Versa X cradle exposed. Let's take a listen. Now, our next ligature might just prove to be the most interesting. This is the Rovner LGX. It sells for around $100. That's roughly twice the price of the Versa X. But unlike the other ligatures in our comparison today, this is not a generalist. Oh no, this is made with one specific feature in mind: power. Think marching bands, military bands, and any situation where you might need a lot of projection to cut above amplified instruments. Classical players need not apply. Now, I know from experience that listening on your device doesn't always give you the full picture when it comes to projection. So rather than listening out for the volume, listen to the tone of my sax. When I play loudly, do I retain the core of my sound, or does it become harsh and top heavy? Let's take a listen. Well, we've come to the final Rovner ligature in our comparison, and of course that means we've reached the top end of town. Welcome to the world of supercars, mega yachts, and of course, Platinum Gold Ligatures. Jokes aside, despite the premium materials, this ligature is only slightly more expensive than the LGX, coming in at around $110 US. But apart from looking pretty, what else does this ligature really have to offer? Well, according to Rovner, this ligature is supposed to be dark and clear. And the clear part might actually be what's most important, because when you're aiming for a dark sound, there is the risk of losing a bit of tonal clarity and sounding a bit stuffy. So it'll be interesting to see how well this ligature handles that. Let's find out. Let me just say that the songs you heard me play are from my latest course, Supercharged Saxophone. It's perfect for intermediate players wanting to truly unlock their jazz and blues playing and finally sound like the players they love listening to. You can learn more over at saxtuition.com. But as a thank you for getting this far in the video, if you want to download the sheet music and backing track featuring a great live band for Hot Duck Time, that's the funky tune you heard based on Cold Duck Time, simply head to saxtuition.com/duck or use the link in the description and I'll send you this tune completely free. Okay, so this is a very unexpected way to end this video. I've been over at my desk editing this video for several hours now, and it's funny how your perspective changes after you've heard these recordings dozens of times. So let me share with you my honest thoughts about these ligatures, and we'll start with this one, the basic one. Now, I hate to admit this because it is a little embarrassing, but this ligature makes me sound like a student again. Now, it could be that I've heard this ligature, or at least this style of ligature, played thousands of times before by beginners and students everywhere, but every other ligature on this video today had a more refined sound to it. Now, you won't really hear it as much when I'm playing loud and putting a lot of air through the horn, but when you will hear it is when I'm playing soft or any time that there's staccato passages. The response on this ligature, it's fine. It's not particularly bad, it's not particularly good, it just responds like you would expect it to. Now let's get to the Rovner Dark. This is actually the ligature that I played on all through high school. It's a slightly fuller and warmer sound than the basic ligature. And again, just like I was saying before, where you'll really hear that is in the softer passages and the staccato passages. It just rounds off the sound a little bit and gives you a slightly more complex, appealing sound. You'll probably find you'll get a little bit more tonal control off this ligature, which means it's just a bit more responsive to your breath. And the other thing is that, as I said to you before at the top of the video, this single screw design makes it so much easier to get on and off. I just want to remind everyone, I'm not a salesman for Rovner. This is not a sponsored video, but for 25 bucks, it's such an obvious upgrade over your basic ligature. I would feel comfortable recommending this ligature to just about anybody. Then we get to the Versa X, and oh boy, this one confused me. Now, going into this, I assumed that I would prefer the sound of the cradle uncovered because I'm a jazz player and I prefer a slightly brighter tone. And then I played it and I actually preferred the sound of the cradle covered. I didn't think it would make as big of a difference as it does or as it did, but yeah, it does make a noticeable difference. There's a refinement to the tone that I really appreciated. There's some added color in there as well, meaning just some extra little frequencies or, I don't know, like an extra buzziness or something that makes the tone a little bit more interesting. There's also, I think, a little bit of added focus to the tone. But one thing I didn't really like was that, to me, this ligature was the most resistant of all the ligatures. Now, I hesitate to draw too many big conclusions here. Could just be that I need a little bit more time on this ligature. But one thing to bear in mind is because of this really sharp V shape of the cradle, the ligature really needs to be perfectly aligned to the reed, because otherwise the pressure on the reed might be distributed unevenly and you might lose that perfect seal. Then we get to the LGX, and guys, this ligature really needs to be played in person. The recording really doesn't do it justice. I truly believe that when you're putting a lot of air through the horn, this ligature can get you an extra 10% of projection. I didn't think it was possible, but I really felt it when I played it. Now, 10% might not sound like a lot, but remember, when we're talking about ligatures, we're talking about fine margins, and 10% can make a really big difference, particularly if you're mostly playing in really loud settings. I really love the tone of this piece. Again, I felt like it added a lot of refinement when compared to the basic ligature. It probably didn't add quite as much color and little interesting artifacts as, say, the Versa X did, but that's okay, because the other thing I loved about this ligature was the response. It was silky smooth, it was very free blowing. I felt like I had a lot of tonal control, and I had a lot of tonal control in the softer bits as well. Let's not forget, guys, comfort is a big factor when it comes to picking your ideal ligature. It was a big upgrade over the basic ligature, and for me and my sound and the music that I like to play and what I like to feel, this was the perfect ligature for me. And then finally, of course, we get to the Platinum Gold. Now, I knew from the outset this was probably not going to be my ideal ligature, mainly because I'm a jazz player and this seems to be aimed slightly more at classical players. But what really surprised me was that despite being an all-metal ligature, it somehow still managed to retain that warmth that the fabric Rovner ligatures have. I'm not really sure how they did that, but it was really noticeable when I was playing it. Now, the reason why this probably wasn't the ideal ligature for me was because I already play on a classical horn. I play on a Selmer Series 3 alto, and I absolutely love it, but it is mostly geared towards classical players, and I am mostly a jazz player, so it's kind of a fish out of water in that setting. So I don't really need to add a purity or a clarity to my tone because the saxophone already has that in spades. However, if I still had my 1947 Selmer Super Balanced Action, which has a ton of warmth and a ton of character to it, then actually this could be a really good pairing with that horn. Again, a lot of this comes down to what else is happening with your setup, what kind of mouthpiece you're playing on, what kind of reeds you're using, what kind of sax you have, because sometimes it's really nice to have complementary pieces of equipment. You might have a brighter ligature and a darker mouthpiece, or vice versa. If you've got a very clear classical sounding horn, you might want something that's going to add a little bit more character to that, and vice versa. So You can either go and lean into one sound completely, or you can have complementary pieces of equipment that give you a more complex and interesting sound. So guys, as you could probably tell, my mind has been changed about ligatures. I'm starting to really appreciate what they can do for the tone. No, I don't think that they are the be all and end all for your tone, but hopefully this video has demonstrated what they can do. Now, I'll leave Amazon links to all of these ligatures below, but I'd love to hear from you. Could you tell the difference between these ligatures sitting at home? And if you could, what was your favorite? Make sure to leave that comment below, and don't forget you can download the PDF and backing track of Hot Duck Time by following the link on screen. Now, do you want to hear more from George and Lynn at Rovner, along with some of the other incredible sax exhibitors from NAMM this year? Make sure to check out my 2025 NAMM wrap-up video here. Or do you want to take a lucky dip and watch something from my channel the all-knowing YouTube algorithm thinks you'll like? Well, you can check out that video over here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe for more great sax content, and I'll see you all again soon.